Hello, my name is Noora Hadi. I'm from Wisconsin University. Today I'm going to read from 360 to 323 from Godric Hollow, Harry Potter's. He had also had the foresight to suggest that they take a few hours a break from wearing the Horcrux, which was hanging over the end of the bank beside him. Hermione? She was curled up in one of the sagging armchairs, with the tales of Beedle the Bard. He could not imagine how much more she could get out of the book, which was not, after all, very long. But evidently she was still deciphering something in it, because Spellman's library lay open on the arm of the chair. Harry cleared his throat. He felt exactly as he had done on the occasion, several years previously, when he had asked Professor McGonagall whether he could go into Hogsmeade, despite the fact that he had not persuaded the Dursleys to sign his permission slip. Hermione, I've been thinking, and Harry, could you help me with something? Apparently she had not been listening to him. She leaned forward and held out the Tales of Beedle the Bard. Look at that symbol, she said, pointing to the top of the page, above what Harry assumed was the title of the story, being unable to read runes. He could not be sure. There was a picture of what looked like a triangular eye, its pupil crossed with a vertical line. I never took ancient runes, Hermione. I know that, but it isn't a rune, and it's not the syllabary either. All along I thought it was a picture of an eye, but I don't think it is. It's been dinged in. Look, somebody's drawn it there. It isn't really part of the book. Think, have you ever seen it before? No, wait a moment. Harry looked closer. Isn't the same symbol Luna's dad was wearing round his neck? Well, that's what I thought too. Then it's Grindelwald's mark. She stared at him open-mouthed. What? Krum told me. He recounted the story that Victor Krum had told him at the wedding. Hermione looked astonished. Grindelwald's mark? She looked from Harry to the weird symbol and back again. I've never heard that Grindelwald had a mark. There is no mention of it in anything I've ever read about him. Well, like I say, Krum reckoned that symbol was carved on a wall at Durmstrang, and Grindelwald put it there. She fell back into the old armchair, frowning. That's very odd. If it is a symbol of dark magic, what is it doing in a book of children's stories? Yeah, it's weird, said Harry. And you'd think the Grimgeour would have recognized it. He was a master. He ought to have been expert on dark stuff. I know. Perhaps he thought it was a knight, just like I did. All the other stories have little pictures over the titles. She did not speak, but continued to pore over the strange mark. Harry tried again. Hermione, I've been thinking. I want to go to Godric's Hollow. She looked up at him, but her eyes were unfocused, and he was sure that she was still thinking about the mysterious mark on the book. Yes, she said. Yes, I've been wanting that too. I really think we'll have to. Did you hear me right? He asked. Of course I did. You wanted to go to Godric's Hollow. I agree. I think we should. I can't think of anywhere else it could be, either. It will be dangerous, but the more I think about it, the more likely it seems it's there. What's there? Asked Harry. At that she looked just as bewildered as he felt. Well, the sword, Harry. Dumbledore must have known you would want to go back there. And Godric's Hollow is Godric Gryffindor's part of the place. Really? Gryffindor came from Godric's Hollow? Harry, did you ever even open History of Magic? He said, smiling for what felt like the first time in months. The muscles in his face felt utterly stiff. I might even open it, when I bought it. Just the once. Well, as the village is named after him, I'd have thought you might made a connection, said Hermione. She sounded much more like her old self than she had done of late. Harry half expected her to announce that she was off to the library. There is a book about the village in a history of magic. Wait. She opened the beaded bag and rummaged for a while, finally extracting her copy of their old school textbook, A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot, which she thumbed through it until finding the page she wanted. Upon the signatures of the International Statute of Secrecy in 1689, wizards went into hiding for good. It was natural, perhaps, that they formed their own small communities within a community. Many small villages and hamlets attracted several magical families who banded together for mutual support and protection. The village of Tenworth in Cornwall, Upper Flagley in Yorkshire, and Utter St. Catchpool on the south coast of England were notable homes and to nodes of wizarding families, who lived alongside tolerant and sometimes confounded muggles. Most celebrated of these half-magical dwelling places, perhaps Godric's Hollow, the West Country village, where the great wizard, Godric Gryffindor, was born, and where Bowman Wright, wizarding smith, forged the first golden snaps. The graveyard is full of the names of ancient magical families, and this account, no doubt, for the stories of hunting that have dogged the little church beside it for many centuries. "You and your parents aren't mentioned," Hermione said, closing the book, "because Professor Bagshot does not cover anything later than the end of the 19th century. But you see, Godric's Hollow, Godric Gryffindor, and the Gryffindor sword. Don't you think Dumbledore would have expected you to make the connection?" "Oh, yeah." Harry did not want to admit that he had not been thinking about the sword at all when he saw just they go to Godric's Hollow. For him, the lore of the village lay in his parents' graves, the house where he had nearly escaped death, and in the person of the Bathilda Bagshot. "Remember what Merle said?" he asked eventually. "Who?" You know," he hesitated. He did not want to say Ron's name. "Ginny's great aunt, at the wedding. The one who said that you had skinny ankles." "Oh," said Hermione. It was a sticky moment. Harry knew that she had sensed Ron's name in laughing. He rushed on. "She said Bathilda Bagshot still lives in Godric's Hollow." "Bathilda Bagshot?" murmured Hermione, running her index finger over Bathilda's imposed name on the front cover of a history of magic. "Well, I suppose," she kept so dramatically that Harry's and Sid's turned over. He drew his wand, looking around at the entrance, half expected to see a hand forcing its way through the entrance flap. But there was nothing there. "What?" he said, half angry, half relieved. "What did you do that for? I thought you'd seen a Death Eater in the tent, at the least." "Harry, what if Bathilda's got the sword? What if Dumbledore entrusted it to her?" Harry considered this possibility. Bathilda would be an extremely old woman by now, and according to Merrill, she was gaga. Was it likely that Dumbledore would have hidden the sword of Gryffindor with her? If so, Harry felt that Dumbledore had left a great deal to the chance. Dumbledore had never revealed that he had replaced the sword with a fey, nor he had so much as mentioned a friendship with Bathilda. Now, however, was not the moment to cast doubt of Hermione's theory, not when she was surprisingly willing to fall in with Harry's dearest wish. "Yeah, he might have done. So, are we going to Godric's Hollow?" "Yes, but we will have to think it through carefully, Harry." She was sitting up now, and Harry could tell that the prospect of having a plan again had lifted her mood as much as his. "We'll need to practice disappointing together under the invisibility clock for a start, and perhaps disillusionment charms would be insensible too, unless you think we should go to Whole Hag and use Poljo's partition. In that case, we'll need to collect the help from somebody. I actually think we'd better do that, Harry. The thicker our disguises, the better." Harry let her talk, nodding and agreeing whenever there was a pause. But his mind had left the conversation. For the first time since he had discovered that the sword in Gringotts was fake, he felt excited. He was about to go home, about to return to the place where he had had a family. It was in Godric's Hollow that, but for Voldemort, he would have grown up and spent every school holiday. He could not have invited her friends to his house. He might even have had brothers and sisters. It would have been his mother who had made his 17th birthday cake. The life he had lost had hardly ever seemed to really to him, as at this moment, when he knew he was about to see the place where it had been taken from him. After Hermione had gone to bed that night, Harry partly extracted his rucksack from Hermione's bed bag, and from inside it, the photograph album Hagrid had given him so long ago. For the first time in months, he perused the old pictures of his parents, smiling and waving up at him from the images, which were all he had left of them now. Harry would gladly have set out of Godric's Hollow the following day, but Hermione had other ideas, convinced as she was that Voldemort would expect Harry to return to the scene of his parents' death. She was determined that they would set off only after they had ensured that they had the best disguises possible. It was therefore a full week later, once they had surreptitiously obtained Harry from ancient muggles who were Christmas shopping, and had practiced in apporting and disapporting while underneath the invisibility cloak together, that Hermione agreed to make the journey. They were to apparate to the village under the cover of darkness, so it was late afternoon when they finally swallowed Polyjuice's potion, Harry transforming into a balding middle-aged Muggle man, Hermione into his small and rather mousy wife. They beaded bag containing all of their possessions, apart from Horcrux, which was wearing around his neck, was tackled into an inside pocket of Hermione's buttoned-up coat. Harry lowered the invisibility cloak over them. Then they turned into the suffocating darkness once again. Heart beating in his throat, Harry opened his eyes. They were standing hand in hand in a snow lane under a dark blue sky, in which the night's first stars were already glimmering feebly. Cottages stood on either side of the narrow road, Christmas decorations twinkling in their windows. A short way ahead of them, a glow of golden street lights indicated the center of the village. "Oh, this is snow," Hermione whispered beneath the clock. "Why didn't we think of snow? After all our precautions, we will leave a print. We will just have to get rid of them. You go in front, I will do it." Harry did not want to enter the village like a pantomime horse, trying to keep themselves concealed while magical covering their traces. "Let's take off the clock," said Harry. And when she looked frightened, "Oh, come on, we don't look like us, and there is no one around." He stuck the cloak under his jacket, and they made their way forward unhampered, the icy air stinging their faces as they passed more cottages. Any one of them might have been the one in which James and Lily had once lived, or where Bathilda lived now. Harry gazed at the front doors, their snow-burdened roofs, and their front porches, wondering whether he remembered any of them, knowing deep inside that it was impossible, that he had been little more than a year old when he had left this place forever. He was not even sure whether he would be able to see the cottage at all. He did not know what happened when the subject of Fiddle's charm dead. Then the little line along which they were walking curved to the left, and the heart of the village, a small square, was revealed to them. Strung all around with the colored lights, there was what looked like a war memorial in the middle, partly obstructed by a wind-blown Christmas tree. There were several shops and post office, a pump, and a little church whose stained glass windows were glowing jewel bright across the square. The snow here had become impacted. It was hard and slippery, where people had trodden on it all day. Villagers were crisscrossing in front of them, their figures briefly illuminated by street lamps. They heard a snatch of laughter and pop music as the pub door opened and closed. Then they heard a carol start up inside the little church. "Harry, I think it's Christmas Eve," said Hermione. "Is it?" He had lost track of the date. They had not seen a newspaper for weeks. "I'm sure it is," said Hermione, her eyes upon the church. They will be in there, won't they? Your mom and dad. I can see the graveyard behind it." Harry felt thrilled of something that was beyond excitement, more like fear. Now that he was so new, he wondered whether he wanted to see after all. Perhaps Hermione knew how he was feeling, because she reached for his hand and took the lead for the first time, pulling him forward. That's it.
Perfect. I understand.